A group of 7 survivors of child sexual abuse at the hands of Catholic priests have reached a settlement with the Maine diocese. That's according to the law firm representing the group. The financial terms and other details of the settlement are confidential. Today, attorneys for the 7 individuals held a press conference in Portland to discuss the lasting impact of the abuse. One survivor, Keith Amato of Van Buren, said the psychological trauma he endured led him to decades of drug use and eventual homelessness. He said the settlement money is a start, but it's just money. What he really wants is an apology, or at the very least, a discussion with church leaders.
I had options to be John Doe or whatever. And I chose to say, no, I'm Keith Amato, because I believe that it's important for me to say that, this happened to me. And it was really hard, like I had 2 major surgeries, and that's what it was, but I'm really grateful today.
Attorneys with Berman and Simmons commended the survivors they worked with for their courage and bravery. To other survivors who have not yet come forward, they say this case is proof there is hope, and they remind everyone that shame belongs with the abusers, not the survivors.